My sister used my credit card without permission, but my mom blamed me for it. So I waited until Christmas and took out all the things I had bought from their house, ignoring their calls that they had been robbed. I never expected that phone call to change everything. There I was, sitting in my office on the 14th floor, reviewing quarterly reports like any other Tuesday morning, when my phone lit up with my mother's number. I almost dropped my coffee mug. She hadn't called me in years. "Laura, is that you?" Her voice sounded different, strained. "Yes, Mom, what's wrong?" I tried to keep my voice neutral, professional. After all, I was at work, and being a department head at 29 meant maintaining composure no matter what. "Your father, he passed away yesterday. The funeral is in 3 days." The words hit me like a punch to the gut. Dad was gone, and they waited until now to tell me? I gripped the edge of my desk, grateful that I had splurged on this downtown apartment with its private office space. "What happened?" I managed to ask. "Heart attack." He was at work, of course. Her voice trailed off, and I could hear my sister Sarah's distinctive sobbing in the background. Of course he was at work. He was always working, trying to support them both, my unemployed mother and my 23-year-old sister who had never held a job in her life. I felt anger rising in my throat but swallowed it down. Why wasn't I informed when it happened? "We were in shock, Laura. Everything happened so fast." She paused. "The funeral is on Friday at 2 p.m. Will you come? Would I come?" He was my father, the only one who had supported me when I decided to move out and live on my own. The only one who had celebrated with me when I graduated from college, while Mom and Sarah were too busy shopping for Sarah's prom dress. The only one who called me regularly, even if it meant sneaking away during his lunch break to do so. "Of course I'll be there," I said firmly. After hanging up, I sat there staring at the city skyline through my window. Memories flooded back, of how Mom always favored Sarah, of all the times I was pushed aside, like when I made the debate team in high school, but Mom skipped my first competition to take Sarah to her dance recital, or when I got my first job at 16, and instead of being proud, Mom complained that I wouldn't have time to help Sarah with her homework anymore. That's why I left as soon as I could. Got myself through college with scholarships and part-time jobs, found an apartment in the city center, and worked my way up in the company. Dad understood. He would visit me when he could, always bringing small gifts and proud smiles. Now he was gone. The funeral home was packed with people I barely recognized. Distant relatives, Dad's coworkers, old family friends. All of them gathered to say goodbye to the man who had worked himself to death at 54. I stood near the back, watching as people approached Mom and Sarah, who were stationed front and center, accepting condolences with tears streaming down their faces. "Oh, Margaret," Aunt Susan was saying to Mom, clutching her hand. "If you need anything at all." Mom dabbed at her eyes with a tissue. "It's going to be so hard without Richard. He was our only source of income, you know. I don't know how we'll manage now." I felt my jaw clench. Sarah let out another dramatic sob, and 3 more relatives rushed to comfort her. I couldn't help but notice her perfectly styled hair and manicured nails. Apparently, being unemployed had its perks. "He worked so hard for us," Mom continued, her voice carrying across the room. "Now it's just me and Sarah with no income." I had to step outside for a moment. The cool air helped calm my rising anger. Dad had called me just 2 weeks ago, sounding more tired than usual. "Just finished my second shift," he'd said. "Got to keep the girls comfortable, you know." I should have said something then. Back inside, I endured 2 more hours of Mom's performance about their financial struggles. Sarah played her part perfectly, looking helpless and devastated. Neither of them mentioned that they'd had years to find jobs of their own. Finally, the last guests were leaving. I was about to grab my coat when Mom called out, "Laura, wait. We need to talk." I followed them into the kitchen, where Mom suddenly turned to me with tears in her eyes. "Laura, I know things haven't been good between us. I know I ignored you, always favored Sarah." Behind her, Sarah rolled her eyes and made a face. "But your father's death has shown me how fragile life is. We need to put aside our differences and be a family again." I wanted to scream at her. Tell her that Dad might still be alive if he hadn't worked double shifts to support their lazy lifestyle. That while I was building my career, they were living off his sweat and sacrifice. The words burned in my throat, but I swallowed them. This wasn't the time or place. Instead, I asked bluntly, "Why now, Mom? Is this about money?" Her face transformed into a mask of hurt. "How could you think that? Your father left us the house and some savings. We'll manage for now. I just want my daughter back." "I'm not against reconciling," I said carefully, "but maybe we should take it slow. Build trust gradually." "Of course, dear," Mom replied. "Whatever you think is best." The drive back to my apartment was a blur. As I sat in my living room, staring at the city lights, I found myself wondering if maybe Mom was right. Maybe Dad's death was a wake-up call. Maybe we could repair our relationship. After all, she had admitted her mistakes, hadn't she? A week after the funeral, Mom called to invite me to dinner. "I'm making your favorite lasagna," she said, her voice warm with forced cheerfulness. Just like old times. I almost laughed at that. In the old times, she'd only made lasagna when Sarah asked for it. But I agreed to come, reminding myself about giving them a chance. The house looked exactly the same as it had during the funeral, except now Dad's shoes were missing from their usual spot by the door. Sarah was sprawled on the couch, scrolling through her phone, barely looking up when I entered. "Everything's so expensive now," Mom sighed, pulling the lasagna from the oven. I nearly fainted when I saw the grocery bill, and don't get me started on the utilities. The electric company must think we're made of money. I watched her arrange the food on plates, all new ones, I noticed. "Have you started looking for work yet?" I asked, trying to keep my voice neutral. "Oh, sweetie, the job market is terrible right now," she replied, avoiding my eyes. "Did you know cheese prices went up 30%? And the internet bill? Highway robbery, I tell you." At the dinner table, Sarah finally put her phone down long enough to join the complaint festival. "My friends say everything's like twice as expensive now. How's anyone supposed to live?" I took a sip of water, choosing my words carefully. You know, when you're working and getting a regular paycheck, these price increases aren't quite so noticeable. The hint hung in the air like smoke, but Mom and Sarah acted like they hadn't heard it. "We'll find something eventually," Mom continued, refilling her wine glass. "But for now, we'll just have to tighten our belts a bit." "That sounds like an excellent idea," I said, unable to keep the edge out of my voice. Belt tightening is very character building. The temperature in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. Sarah's face twisted into a scowl, and Mom's smile became fixed and brittle. They spent the rest of the evening barely speaking, responding to my attempts at conversation with cold monosyllables. This pattern continued for several weeks. I'd come over for dinner, Mom would complain about expenses, I'd make pointed comments about employment, and they'd pretend not to understand. It was like a bizarre dance where everyone knew the steps but refused to acknowledge the music. Then came the Saturday when the other shoe finally dropped. I'd just finished helping Mom clear the dinner dishes when she cleared her throat nervously. "Laura, honey, we need to talk about something. The washing machine broke down yesterday. Water everywhere, and you know how expensive repairs are these days." "Here it comes," I thought. "We really need a new one," she continued, with Sarah nodding vigorously beside her. "I was wondering if you could help us out with the money for it?" I looked at them both, my mother with her pleading eyes, my sister with her expectant expression. Part of me felt sorry for them, sitting in this house full of memories of Dad, trying to navigate life without his constant support. But another part remembered all the times they'd taken advantage of his generosity. "I won't give you money," I said firmly, watching their faces fall, "but I'll buy you a washing machine myself." Mom's lips pressed into a thin line, but she had no choice. "Fine," she said, her voice tight with disappointment. "If that's how you want to do it." I could tell this wasn't the answer they'd hoped for, but I wasn't about to hand over cash that would probably never go toward a washing machine at all. The washing machine I chose was a solid Whirlpool model, not top of the line, but reliable and energy efficient. I scheduled the delivery and installation for a Tuesday morning, taking a half day off work to supervise the process. Mom circled the newly installed machine like a real estate agent evaluating a questionable property. "It's nice," she said, in a tone that suggested it was anything but. Though I saw this gorgeous Samsung model at the appliance store. It had all these special features. "Well," I cut in, shouldering my purse. "When you're ready to buy your own washing machine, you can get the fanciest model they make." Mom's frown suddenly transformed into a laugh. "Oh, I'm just teasing, honey. This is perfect, really." I nodded, not believing her for a second. Over the next few months, it seemed like everything in the house decided to break down at once. First, it was the refrigerator. The repair guy took one look and declared it beyond saving. I spent a Sunday afternoon appliance shopping with Mom, who miraculously kept her opinions about price tags to herself this time. Then the dishwasher gave out, flooding the kitchen floor. Sarah called me in a panic, as if she'd never heard of washing dishes by hand. "We can't live like this," she wailed over the phone. So I added a dishwasher to my growing list of purchases. The coffee maker was next. "Your father always said a house needs good coffee," Mom reminded me, her voice trembling slightly. I couldn't argue with Dad's memory, so I bought them a nice Cuisinart model. Each time, I made the purchases myself or paid the repair people directly, Mom would hint about how it would be easier if I just gave her the money. But I stood firm. I'd seen too many of Dad's home repair funds go towards Sarah's shopping sprees over the years. The living room furniture was the biggest expense. Mom mentioned one evening how the old sofa reminded her too much of Dad, how he used to fall asleep there watching TV after his long shifts. The cabinets were too painful to look at because they held his old magazines and books. So I replaced them all. New sofa, new cabinets, new memories. My credit card took the hit, but at least I knew exactly where the money was going. With each purchase, I told myself I was helping them adjust to life without Dad, making their home more comfortable. But sometimes, late at night, I wondered if I was just enabling their dependency, the same way Dad had done for so many years. I got an interview, Sarah announced during another dinner, practically bouncing in her chair. It's for an administrative position at Thompson & Brooks. I nearly choked on my meatloaf. After months of vague promises about job hunting, this was the first concrete news. Mom beamed with pride, as if Sarah had already been made CEO. That's great, I said cautiously. When is it? Next week, Sarah replied, pushing her peas around the plate. But there's kind of a problem. I need something professional to wear. You know how important first impressions are, right? HR people totally judge you on that stuff. We could go shopping together, I offered. I know some great places for office wear. Sarah's face scrunched up like I'd suggested we go dumpster diving. Laura, I'm 23. I think I can shop for myself. I found the perfect suit already. I just need the money to buy it. Like, $500 should cover it. They tag-teamed me for the next hour. Sarah talked about how this job could be her big break. Mom reminisced about how she'd helped me buy my first interview outfit she hadn't. Eventually, exhausted and hoping to encourage Sarah's apparent job hunting efforts, I broke my own rule. Fine, I said, pulling out my phone. I'm transferring $500. But I want to see this suit when you get it. Sarah hugged me, all smiles. You're the best big sister ever. A week later, I was scrolling through Instagram when I saw it. Sarah, definitely not in an office suit, posing at what looked like a club. She was wearing a sparkly red dress that probably cost exactly $500. My blood began to boil. I clicked through more photos. Sarah dancing, Sarah doing shots, Sarah living it up in her interview suit. The next morning, I drove straight to Mom's house. Sarah was still in her pajamas at noon. Nursing will look like a hangover. How did the interview go? I asked sweetly. Oh good, she mumbled, not meeting my eyes. Really good. That's wonderful. Can I see the suit you wore, the one you bought with my money? Sarah's face went pale. It's at the dry cleaners. That's funny, I said, pulling out my phone. Because, according to your Instagram, my $500 bought you quite a different kind of outfit. Sarah's eyes filled with tears. You're spying on me? It's not spying when you post it publicly. You lied to me, Sarah. You never had an interview, did you? You're so mean, she wailed. I needed that dress. All my friends were going to this party, and I gave you that money for a job interview. Laura, Mom cut in. Don't be so hard on her. She's young, she needs to have some fun too. That was it, the last straw. I'm done, I said, my voice shaking. I'm done buying your appliances, I'm done fixing your house, and I'm definitely done giving you money for fake job interviews. You're on your own. I walked out, slamming the door on their protests. As I drove away, I could feel years of resentment bubbling up. They would never change. They would always be looking for the next handout, the next excuse, the next lie. For 3 weeks, I ignored every call, text, and voicemail from Mom and Sarah. Each time their names popped up on my phone, I felt a mixture of anger and relief. Anger at their betrayal, relief at not having to deal with their drama anymore. Then December arrived, bringing with it the first snow and memories of past family Christmases. I was reviewing end-of-year reports in my apartment when the doorbell rang. Opening the door, I found Mom standing there, wrapped in Dad's old winter coat. Laura, she said softly, can we talk? I hesitated, but the sight of Dad's coat made my throat tight. He'd worn it to every one of my school events. Every parent-teacher conference he attended alone, because Mom was busy with Sarah. Christmas is coming, Mom continued, her breath visible in the cold hallway. Your father always said holidays were for family. She was right about that. It was one of Dad's favorite sayings. Sarah peeked out from behind Mom, looking uncharacteristically subdued. Please, Mom's voice cracked. Just 5 minutes? I stepped aside to let them in, already wondering if I was making a mistake. They settled onto my couch while I went to make tea, Dad's solution for everything. The familiar ritual of brewing and pouring helped calm my nerves. "We miss you," Mom said as I handed her a cup. "The house feels empty without you visiting." Sarah nodded, clutching her teacup. "I'm sorry about the dress thing," she mumbled. "I shouldn't have lied." I sat down, watching the steam rise from my tea. The anger that had sustained me for weeks felt distant now, replaced by a weary sadness. Maybe Dad would have wanted us to try again. Maybe the holidays were a time for second chances. "I just want us to be a real family again," Mom said, reaching for my hand. "Your father would have hated seeing us like this." We spent the next hour talking, really talking. For what felt like the first time in years, Mom shared stories about Dad that I'd never heard before. Sarah showed me pictures from her actual job search, or so she claimed. It felt nice, normal, like maybe we could build something new from the ashes of our old relationships. The next day at work, my phone buzzed with a notification from my bank app. A charge for $300 at Nordstrom. Before I could process what I was seeing, another notification, $450 at Saks. My hands shaking, I opened the app. Purchase after purchase at high-end clothing stores, all within the last hour. I immediately called the bank. "Yes, I need to report fraudulent charges and block my card immediately," I said, my voice tight with fury. After confirming the card was blocked, I scrolled through the charges again. Then I remembered, Sarah had asked to use my bathroom before they left yesterday. She must have gone through my purse while she was in there. I checked the time, 3:45 p.m. The workday wouldn't end for another 2 hours, but this couldn't wait. I gathered my things, told my assistant I had a family emergency, and headed for my car. I burst through the front door without knocking, my hands shaking with rage. Sarah was sprawled on the new sofa I'd bought them, surrounded by shopping bags from high-end stores. She barely looked up from her phone. "Give me back my credit card," I demanded, my voice trembling. "Now." Mom hurried in from the kitchen, wiping her hands on a dish towel. "Laura, honey, why are you making such a scene?" "She stole from me, Mom. She went through my purse yesterday and took my credit card." Sarah rolled her eyes and reached into her designer purse, probably purchased with my stolen card, and pulled out my credit card. "Fine, here's your precious card back. I just needed some stuff for the Christmas party, and you're always so stingy lately." I snatched the card from her hand. "Stingy? I bought you an entire house worth of appliances and furniture. And you repay me by stealing? Don't call your sister a thief." Mom stepped between us, her face flushed. "She just needed some nice clothes for the holidays. If you weren't so selfish with your money, she wouldn't have had to take matters into her own hands." I looked at them, really looked at them. My mother, standing there self-righteous and entitled, defending theft as if it were perfectly normal. Sarah, surrounded by evidence of her crime, playing the victim as always. They were sitting on the sofa I bought, in front of the TV I paid for, probably planning to make coffee later in the coffee maker I purchased. And suddenly something clicked in my mind. A plan began to form. I took a deep breath and forced a smile. "You know what, Mom? Maybe you're right. Maybe I have been too rigid about money. It is Christmas after all. In fact, why don't we have Christmas here this year, with all the relatives?" Mom's face lit up. "Oh, honey, that would be wonderful. I'll call everyone right away. We can do it on Christmas Eve, just like when you were little." Over the next few days, I played my part perfectly. When Mom called to discuss holiday plans, I enthusiastically agreed to everything. I even arrived early on December 24, dressed in my best holiday outfit. "We need to get some last-minute things for the party," Mom said. "Would you mind?" Of course, I pulled out my wallet and handed them several $100s. "Get whatever you need." They practically ran to their car, probably afraid I'd change my mind. As soon as they turned the corner, I pulled out my phone. "Yes. This is Laura Wilson. The movers can come now. I'd arranged everything in advance. Movers who were willing to work on Christmas Eve for double pay, a storage unit across town, even a small moving truck. They arrived within minutes, clearly eager to earn their holiday bonus. One by one, every item I'd purchased over the past months was carried out. The washing machine that started it all. The refrigerator, the dishwasher, the coffee maker, the sofa where Sarah had sat counting her stolen goods. The cabinets, everything. Finally, I placed a small, carefully wrapped box under their Christmas tree. I took one last look around the half-empty house, remembering all the times Dad and I had sat in this room, sharing quiet conversations while Mom and Sarah were out shopping. My phone started ringing around 4 in the afternoon. I was sitting in my apartment, enjoying a glass of wine and watching the snow fall outside my window when Mom's hysterical voice exploded through the speaker. "We've been robbed. Someone broke in and took everything. The washing machine, the fridge, all the furniture, it's all gone." If you hadn't left home. I took another sip of wine. No one robbed you, Mom. I took it all, everything I bought over the past few months. It's in storage now. You can't do this, Mom shrieked. I'm calling the police. I actually laughed at that. Go ahead. I've got something for you under the tree, by the way. You should open it. I could hear her stomping across the room, the rustle of paper as she tore open the gift. It's just a bunch of receipts. What kind of stupid gift is this? Those aren't just any receipts, Mom. They're proof that I purchased every single item I removed today. Every appliance, every piece of furniture, all paid for by me. The police will be very interested in seeing those, I'm sure. Oh, and while you're at it, you might want to explain Sarah's little credit card shopping spree. You vindictive little. Mom's voice cracked with rage. How dare you do this to us on Christmas Eve? What are we supposed to tell everyone? I don't know. Maybe the truth? That you and Sarah have been living off Dad's money and my generosity while refusing to work. That Sarah stole my credit card? That you defended her theft? I hung up and blocked her number. The next morning, Christmas Day, my phone rang again. This time it was my cousin Rachel. Oh my God, Laura. She was laughing so hard she could barely speak. You will not believe what happened last night. Tell me everything. So Aunt Margaret started telling everyone this dramatic story about how ungrateful you were, how you'd stolen all their furniture on Christmas Eve. But then Uncle Bob asked why they hadn't bought their own furniture with all the money they'd saved from not working all these years. And Aunt Susan mentioned how Uncle Richard, your dad, had told her he was working double shifts to support them. I could picture the scene perfectly. Over the next few weeks, the messages poured in, first angry, then pleading, then desperate. Mom claimed they couldn't afford groceries. Sarah swore she'd learned her lesson. They needed to reconcile. They'd changed. They missed me. They loved me. I blocked every new number they used to contact me. Changed my email address, removed them from all my social media. Sometimes I wonder how they're doing, if they finally found jobs, if they sold the house, if they learned anything from all this, but those thoughts don't keep me up at night anymore.